in the field of education. Now, let's see what all contributions it has given into our Malayalam and Sanskrit languages. Malayalam language and Latin Church. Many foreign missionaries who came to Kerala learned Malayalam and have written literary works. Prominent among them are Arnos Padri and Paulinos Padri. Arnos Padri has contributed significantly to Malayalam literature and left behind his imprints. He is very much known today for his composition of Puttan Pana. Most of the faithful recite this poem very devotionally. See, you all might have heard about Puttan Pana. Right, it's a poem or it's a kind of song that all of us recite with a great devotion. This was contributed by Arnos Padri. He was not a Malayali, but still he learned Malayalam literature and contributed to it. Arnos Padri learned Sanskrit and Malayalam and tried to present the Christian ideas through poetry. He was the first person to compile a Sanskrit Malayalam dictionary. The first book written by him was Chadurandeyam, which means 4 ends. So what are those 4 ends? Death, judgment, hell and heaven. The Australian priest and apostolic vicar of Varapura, Paulinos Padri, wrote a few poems and a large number of other works in Malayalam. Missionaries and Malayalam prose. Though prose was in existence during the time of Christian missionaries in Kerala, it was deeply influenced by Christian and Tamil. The missionaries felt the need of a more simple and new prose style to preach the word of God. Thus, missionaries and the Christians of the region created of a new prose style, adapting new words from Portuguese, Latin, Sanskrit, Greek, Arabic and Syriac languages. Certain technical terms used in Christianity were given a makeover by adding features of Malayalam language. See, the prose existed long ago, even when they were there. But it was greatly influenced by Sanskrit and Tamil. Now, it had a touch of professionalism by adding the other languages such as Portuguese, Latin, Sanskrit, Greek, Arabic and also a touch of Malayalam to it. Now, let's see about some of the books that they have written. Yeshuvinte Jeevacharitam, Life of Jesus, Sanmarga Shastra Sangraham, that is Summary of Moral Life Science. These are the Malayalam of these names. Okay. 8 ദിവസത്തെ നോമ്പ്, 8-day fasting. പ്രാചീന ഭാരതത്തിൻ്റെ ചരിത്രം, ഹിസ്റ്ററി ഓഫ് ഏൻഷ്യൻറ്റ് ഇന്ത്യ. കേരളത്തിലെ സസ്യശാസ്ത്രം, സയൻസ് ഓഫ് പ്ലാന്റ്സ് ഇൻ കേരള, Hortus Malabaricus, etc. were written during this time. In 1772, Father Clement Pianisis at Varapura Monastery prepared Samkshepa Vedartham, a catechism book in the question-answer form. This was an important event in the growth of Malayalam prose. This was first book to be printed in Malayalam and it was printed in Rome. See, look at its importance. We learned about some names of some books, right? See, Yeshuvinte Jeevacharitam, Sanmarga Shastra Sangraham, 8 ദിവസത്തെ നോമ്പ്, പ്രാചീന ഭാരതത്തിൻ്റെ ചരിത്രം, കേരളത്തിലെ സസ്യശാസ്ത്രം, all these were written during this time. So now you could understand how important these were, how the missionaries worked so keenly to promote not only their languages but also the language of our native. And see, in 1772, Father Clement Pianisis at Varapura Monastery, he prepared Samkshepa Vedartham. It was a catechism book which was in a question-answer form and which was a kind of new prose to Malayalam industry. This was the first book printed in Malayalam, and also it had a speciality, that is, it was printed in Rome. Several men and women religious in Kerala continued their literary contribution inspired by the service of foreign missionaries. Father Louis Vaipesheri's Veda Prasanga Sarani and several of his articles published in Satya Nadakahalam were noteworthy. See, the articles which was published in Satyanada had a lot of information. It gave a new perspective of Christian faith. The Malayalam translation of the New Testament prepared by Father Louis Vaipesheri, Father Michael Puthenparambil and Father Polycarp Manasheri was a pioneering work, and it was printed and published in 1905. So you have to note these names. The first one was the Arnos Padiri, then Paulinos Padiri. These were the persons or missionaries who worked for the upliftment of Malayalam and Latin languages. Then comes the missionaries, that is the one who wrote Athmavinte Jeevacharitam, Sanmarga Shastra Sangraham, all these names. Then comes the Father Louis Vaipesheri, Father Michael Puthenparambil and Father Polycarp Manasheri. All these were the persons who were pioneering these works. The book Malayalatile Nattu Christianigalaya Latin Mappilamar 1929, authored by Father Anthony Padua, speaks about the culture of Latin Catholic community. See, one more name, Father Anthony Padua, who authored the book Malayalatile Nattu Christianigalaya Latin Mappilamar. Soon laity began to contribute to the Malayalam literary field. The pioneers from the laity were T. M. Chummar, Ponikar Rafi, Sabina Rafi. The book Chavittu Nadagam by Sabina Rafi gave a clear understanding of this art form to the natives. This art form belongs exclusively to the Latin Catholic community. See, it was about Chavittu Nadagam. This art form exclusively belongs to the Latin Catholic community, and the book was authored by Sabina Rafi, who was one among the laity. Now, we learned about the books, right? Now, let's see about its printing and Latin Catholic Church. In the early centuries, printing was certainly the best way to spread ideas. In Latin mission centers like Kollam, Kochi, Vipinfort and Sambalur, printing press facilities were established as early as 16th century. See, printing started in these places during 16th century itself. This was essential for universalizing the religious teaching and education. Researchers are of the opinion that the first printing press was set up at Salvador Seminary, Tangashiri, Kollam, from where the first printed book was issued. This book, printed in Tamil with 16 pages, was called Thamburan Vanakkam. See, it was a book printed in Tamil with 16 pages, and the name of the book was Thamburan Vanakkam. And it is said that the first printing press was set up at Salvador Seminary in Kollam. Some are of the opinion that a printing press was established at Chandamangalam, Vipinfort. It is Chandamangalam. Okay. Chandamangalam in Vipinfort. Some opine that it was not in Tangasheri, it was set up, but it was in Chandamangalam, Vipinfort. Doctrina Christiana with 116 pages, printed in 1579 in Kochi, was the second book to be printed. So the first book to be printed is Thamburan Vanakkam in Tamil with 16 pages, which was printed in Salvador Seminary in Kollam. Now, the second book with 116 pages is Doctrina Christiana, which was printed in 1579 in Kochi. In 1602, lots of books on liturgy in Syriac language was printed in a press set up at Vipinfort. The press established by the Jesuits at Sembalur in 1669 was very famous. In 1768, Malayalam letters were printed in the book Hortus Malabaricus. It was printed at Amsterdam in Holland. See, Malayalam, it was Malayalam that was printed, but still it was printed at Amsterdam in Holland. Name of the book is Hortus Malabaricus. We learned about Hortus Malabaricus earlier, right? In India, book in Malayalam was first printed at Career Press, Bombay. First printed book was 4 Gospels from the Bible, and it was done in 1811. The Malayalam book first printed in India was at Career Press in Bombay, that too not in Kerala but in Bombay. And it was a book with 4 Gospels from Bible, and it was done in 1811. Satyanada Kahalam, we heard about this name earlier. Satyanada Kahalam, which was started in 1876 from Kunamavu, later became Satyanadam. The Sunday supplement of daily newspaper Kerala Times. So at that time, like we have Malayalam Manorama now, or we have Shalom newspaper for Christians now. In earlier times, we had Kerala Times newspaper, and this Satyanadam was a Sunday supplement in that daily newspaper. Now, we understand the contribution of Kerala Latin Church towards the educational, literary and cultural development. See, children, it's really important to study about this chapter. You know why? Because in all the previous chapters, we were just focusing on Christianity. That is, from the very first chapter, that is the church. From there till this chapter, we learned about the growth and development of the church. We in between saw about the persecutions, saw about some saints, we saw about some fathers of the church who worked for the church, for the upliftment of the church. But in this chapter, we are looking into a different perspective. That is, our Latin church or our Christianity did not focus just on the development of a single community, but as a whole. That is, in the first chapter itself, we said the church is universal. It's just a word, church is universal, but it has a deep meaning. I have repeated it in several times because in different aspect we can have it as a different meaning. Like it is universal means anyone can enter the church. Like anyone who believe in Jesus Christ are free to come to church. Same way in here we have a different perspective of that word. That is, the church is universal. Yes, church is universal. See how it helped the growth of a community, how it helped in the development of the cultural, literary and educational institution in Kerala. If we look into India, we could see another. Here we were just focusing about Kerala. So in Kerala, it doesn't mean that only the Christian community got developed. No. The schools, the colleges, all these books were open to each and every one in Kerala. Then to India, then to the world. So that is important. You should understand. We should not just visualize a Christian community. Even our missionaries centuries ago visualized it as the whole world. And Jesus has taught us to have a same perspective. That is, the church is universal and our work should be universal. Our work should not be something that only focuses on a single community, like a Latin Catholic or a Syrian Catholic or a group of Christians. No, we should help each and every one of us. All of them are our brothers and sisters. You should keep this in your mind. That is the main importance of learning this chapter. Here you have some names to memorize, some years to memorize, some books to memorize. But what should be there inside your mind is that Church is universal. It worked for the development of educational, literary and cultural development for each and every one of us in Kerala. Okay. We should try to support the teaching activity of the church and grow with the help of these institutions. Education has been looked upon as a part of missionary work. That is why higher officials of the church gave the laity a chance to engage in the academic activities. It is our duty to work for the institutions of church. When you share the knowledge and achievements of the church with your brothers and sisters, we can participate in the mission activities of the church. So, see you all next week. Till then, thank you.